Hi guys, Ray here, City Fan TV. Well, looks like some transfer business at last is going to happen in possibly the next 24, 48 hours. Looks like Kalvin Phillips has chosen his club, or his club have chosen him. Possibly, that's me, the way around for him. And he's going to go to West Ham on loan for the rest of the season. They will. I'm not sure if there's an option to buy or not, but that looks like it's going to go ahead. Now, everybody, I'm just going to look at some stuff that Luke Edwards has been saying. It looks like it's a transfer that everybody thought would happen this month. You know, Pep doesn't want him. Pep said he doesn't want him. Pep said he didn't fit into his plans, and he was sorry for him. That was when on the international duty in November, and that Kalvin would have to consider his future. And I think Kalvin should have been considering his future. It's all well and good winning a load of trophies at City, winning the treble last season, but he's not been a big part of that. And he feels even more on the sidelines this season. Not getting a start when Rodri was out, suspended, and midfield I've said it before, there was Johnny Stones, Akanji, and Rico Lewis in midfield, and no Kalvin Phillips. So, he knew the writing was on the wall. Okay. And Luke Edwards says Kalvin Phillips has cut a quite sad figure, sitting on the bench, not playing, not even coming on a sub most games. That's got to be soul destroying. Now, he's going to go. It looks like a lot of teams were interested in Kalvin Phillips. Juventus were linked. I think there was interest, apparently. There was mentions of PSG, Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich are going out, getting on the Tuchel, getting old English players. They got Harry Kane. They got looking at Trippier. They got Eric Dyer. Wow, Kieran Dyer must be about 45. They're not getting him. But they're buying aren't happy that they're buying English players who are not even playing. Dyer's on the bench. Phillips is on the bench. Trippier, all right, he's not on the bench, but he's 33, and some people at Bayern are questioning what they're doing. Anyway, so lots of clubs have apparently been interested in him. Everton would like him. Crystal Palace of Roy Hodgson threw his hat into the ring, but it looks like he's going to go to West Ham, and I think that's a decent fit. He's going to get somewhere in the region, or City are going to get, and I think this is one of the stumbling blocks. Newcastle wanted him, but Newcastle have got a lot of problems with apparently with financial fair play. They couldn't afford his loan fee. Now the loan fees, it was rumored to be about £7.5 million. Chuck on his wages, this could be a £10 million deal, and you're going to get him for 4 months. If you buy him today, okay, we're on the 23rd of January. By the 23rd of May, roughly speaking, season's finished. You get him for February, March, April, May. 4 months, and you pin up best part of £10 million. That's why Newcastle have pulled out. They're looking at this talk of them selling some of their star players, the big names, as well as Kieran Trippier, to balance the books. So they pulled out. West Ham, they seem to have the money. They seem to have obviously the need. Luke Edwards says he needs to play. It didn't work out for him in the first season. And we all understand why he wanted to stay, because he said he wants to prove himself and work hard for his position, but it isn't going to happen. Now, it's a good move. It will be a good move for this West Ham move for both parties. West Ham are not they're not loaning Kalvin Phillips to put him on the bench. They're not going to spend between 6 and whatever it's going to be, between 6 and 10 million. We don't know the loan fee yet, but let's say between 6 and 10 million quid for 4 months, for a player for 4 months, if they're not going to play him extensively. That's in their mind. It's that they're going to play Kalvin Phillips, I won't say all the time, but pretty much all the time. They're currently sat in 6th place. They've got 35 points from 21 games. They're sat in the Europa League positions, 3 points clear of Brighton, who are below them, and United, and 4 ahead of Chelsea, and 6 ahead of Newcastle, I think. Something like that. So they're only 5 points behind Spurs. Okay, they're 8 points behind Villa, who are in the Champions League places, and Arsenal and City, all on 43. West Ham are on 35 now, and they're in the Europa League knockout stages. So for Kalvin Phillips, look what he's got to look forward to. He's got a team that want him, that are going to play him because they're paying the money. They're in the Europa League, so he's going to be playing in Europe. He's going to get some European football, at least a couple of games. And they're challenging at the top end of the Premier League. So he's playing in a competitive side who've won half their games this season, 10 out of 21. They've won half their games this season. So, yeah, as I said, he's going to be in a competitive team that's going to be challenging for an opportunity. Well, they've got booted out of the FA Cup, but challenging for an opportunity to go for top four. And for West Ham, they're looking at what they're getting. They're getting an England international, even now a current England international, still backed by Gareth Southgate. And they're going to get a guy who wants to prove himself. Okay, so they've got a top player. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's rubbish. They're getting a top player who's got that motivation, that eagerness, that desire to show what he can still do. And that might be the difference. It might be the difference between going very deep in the Europa League, which they'd love to do, and it might be the difference between maintaining their Europa League spot in the Premier League and possibly going for that Champions League. You know, Champions League isn't out of the question yet because, yes, 8 points sounds like a lot, but there's still 17 games to go. Now, West Ham could have a very good finish to the season. That might make the difference. That might get them into the Champions League spot. So you never know. You never know. You know, out of 17 games, if you can win, if they can win another 10 games out of those 17 and draw, let's say, 3 or 4, gets you into a good number, gets you the best part of 70 points. That might squeeze you into Champions League. If they can win 12 or 13 out of 7, if they can win 12 out of 17, that's going to get them very close. It's going to be well into 70, 73, 75 points. That might be enough. It all depends on what happens to Spurs, Villa, Arsenal, you know, and how they do the rest of the season, whether Arsenal will drop off a cliff again, and what the teams below them do. So I don't wish Kalvin Phillips any ill. I mean, it's a shame it didn't work out at City, but it's the best thing for currently anyway for him to go out on loan to get some football at City, to get a shed load of money on him. West Ham to get a good player who will help them. Everybody's happy. And then I expect Kalvin to leave in the summer. But that's another thing, another issue. You know, it's another point. We'll talk about that another time. Let's see how his loan spell goes at West Ham. Fingers crossed it goes well for him, well for West Ham. And we get some good money for him in the summer. Guys, if you're new to the channel, it would be fantastic if you could subscribe. If you can hit that bell icon, you'll be notified as soon as new videos come out. We'll see you around, Blues.